Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Michael Fisher. I am the Director of Admissions here at Salpointe Catholic, and I'd like to welcome you to our Lunch with the Lancers. Today, we'll be focusing on our athletics program here at Salpointe. And I want to welcome Phil Grunsfelder, our Athletics Director, and Danny Preble, our Assistant Athletics Director, who will be taking you through a good overview of our athletics program. And I'm going to turn it over to Phil Grunsfelder, our Athletic Director. Phil?
Welcome. I appreciate y'all being here in the middle of the day. I always love talking about Salpointe athletics. It's what I do 24 hours a day, pretty much 7 days a week. And there's a lot going on always here at Salpointe. As most of you know, we have 26 sports here at Salpointe. We have 8 in the fall. We have 5 during the winter time. We have 11 during the springtime. And then we have 2 that are year round with our cheer and our dance teams. So there's always something to do. There's always opportunities for our students to participate. In fact, we have about 85% of our student body participates in some type of sport. So if you were to look into a regular public school, that would probably be around 10 to 15%. So our kids are very active. They like to participate in things. They like to get involved in things. And it shows in our success because we have depth wherever we go with any of our sports. With those 26 sports, we have 50 teams, meaning that most of our sports have a freshman, have a JV, and a varsity. We encourage the multi-sport athlete. We want our kids to do as many things as they can. I always tell our coaches, that's the hill that I will die on. If I ever hear of a coach saying that I want you to focus in on one sport, there's probably a pretty good chance that that coach won't be working for us very long, because we really encourage that. We want our kids to be well-rounded people. We want them to have a great experience and try different things. And they may have a focus of being a basketball player, but playing football or running cross country or being on the swim team will make them a better basketball player. And that's just one example, because it's a different sport. It's a different kind of training. It's working with different coaches, which is always great for a student athlete to have. So as I said, we encourage the multi-sport athlete. This is a different time for any of us, as you all know. And I see some of you on this, wearing your masks and, isolated in your office or whatever. None of us have ever gone through anything like this before. I am a planner. I pride myself on organization. I pride myself on being a great communicator. And a lot of those things are out the window with athletics this year. Typically, we spend the spring and the summer planning for our fall sports. For those 8 fall sports, once those get started, we go into planning for the 5 winter sports, and then so on. And we haven't been able to do that. And it's making me really uncomfortable, because our fall sports programs, they change from day to day. As some of you know, we had to shut down our freshman football team yesterday because of a positive case. And, we had to communicate to 2 other schools that we couldn't play them in the next 2 weeks. And then they had to scramble to pick up games. So we're doing things that we've never had to do before. As I tell people, there are no stupid questions. People are asking questions about how we're going to do something, and I take them through the process, such as those of you that have students that are involved in volleyball or in football. You know that we've limited the number of people that we're bringing into our facilities. We've had to change the way that we take tickets. I mean, we typically used to, just have a cash box at the door. You pay your $4 or your $5. You come in, you sit wherever you want. We're not able to do that anymore, just because we're trying to limit the number of interactions that we have with people. So where we're taking tickets, we're using a company called GoFan. It is a paperless ticket that you purchase. It's on your phone. You bring your mobile device to the game. Our ticket taker will validate it, and then you come in. So we don't have any exchange of money. We don't have any touching of anything else. We've also had to limit the number of people that we have coming into our venues, such as if you've been into the football stadium, we've gone through and put blue X's where we can have 4 people sit at a time. In our gym, we only put 2 X's there. We've had to limit the number of people so that we can have social distancing, so that we can spread people out. We're requiring masks. We're only allowing the participant families to come in. As I said, it's different, and we're trying to make our way through it. Our fall sports season is winding down, and our winter sports season theoretically starts on Monday, November 11th. And I say theoretically because the AIA, the Arizona Interscholastic Association, who is our governing body, is going to come out with the winter sports metrics on Thursday. And whether they will keep them the same as far as our start dates go, or whether they will push them back, we'll see on Thursday. But we're full speed ahead for our winter sports as of now. Wrestling is a concern of mine. As you can imagine, if you go into our foundation hall right now while we're having lunch, you will see all of our tables. They only have 2 students at them. They're 6 feet apart. Everybody's wearing masks unless they're eating. And now I throw in the wrestling, where we have a wrestling room where we could probably only put about 10 people in there safely. We don't have great ventilation. They're touching each other. So I have a meeting this afternoon with our president and our principal to discuss wrestling, to see what modifications we need to make to let that sport happen. So kind of going back, digressing a little bit, we do have several sports that are no-cut sports, meaning that we don't limit the number of people or kids that we have on our team. Our cross-country team, which is in the fall, we took everybody. Our swim teams, our dive team, same thing. Our wrestling team, our track and field teams, as well as our lacrosse and rugby teams, they are no-cut sports. We will take everybody unless we are limited on space or a facility. Then that's when we start to scale back on the number of participants that we have.
Yeah, Phil, thank you very much. So the first question did come in. Where can we find the year-long sports schedule, or just schedules in general?
Well, there's a couple of places that you can find this. Danny, do you want to answer that?
Yeah, I will. Actually, for this year, being with all the changes that we're having to deal with, we are keeping the schedules on the MyPoint calendar, which can also be found on the salpointe.org calendar. Like Phil spoke about it earlier, we were planning on having some freshman football games this week and next. Those got changed. So the schedule on the salpointe.org website under calendar is the most up-to-date spot that you can find that.
And another place, and I've already referred to the AIA, being the Arizona Interscholastic Association. You can go onto their website. It's www.aiaonline.org. And it has a plethora of information. You can go get schedules of other schools, of other programs, of other sports. The AI bylaws are in there. If you ever had any questions about those, I would suggest that if you ever had any questions about bylaws, that you come to me, because I've been doing this for 21 years now. Not that those bylaws don't change or that they can be interpreted in different places, but I can help you guide through that scenario.
Thank you, Phil. Another question is my son is looking to come to Salpointe next year as a freshman. What's the best way to communicate with coaches about what their program's like, and if we just have general questions about the specific sport?
The AI has very specific rules about enticement, encouragement, recruitment, and as you can imagine, being a private school, everybody thinks that our coaches go out and pound the pavement and recruit all of our student athletes. If we did that, we would probably put 40 times and bench presses on the application. We do not do that at all. And so the way that we want to communicate specifically, if you have questions, is to come to me. I can answer those questions. Once your son or daughter has gone through the process, that they filled out an application, that they've taken the entrance exam, that they have registered for classes. Once they have registered for classes, now they are considered to be one of our students. And now you can reach out to our coaches via email or phone call, and they can have a conversation back and forth. Those students that are in 8th grade cannot do anything here on our campus until 2 things happen. One, that they graduate from 8th grade and obviously 2, that they are registered and have a schedule here at Salpointe Catholic High School. So we get that a lot during the summertime as we start to approach the summer, because we've got some teams or some sports like basketball and volleyball and baseball and softball that have some activity. And, I know our 8th graders and our 8th grade families get eager and they want to get going and start their high school experience, but they can't do anything on our campus until those 2 things have happened. Again, registered, have a schedule with us, and have graduated or been promoted in their middle school.
Also, I do want to bring up, before I get to the next question, that we will be having an on-campus open house on November 22nd that you can RSVP for. We will be on the campus doing campus tours, and then coaches will be available in our main Khalil gym, just in case you want to come over, just meet them, say hello, and maybe ask a quick question or 2. But don't worry, we are going to communicate out with you with everything happening throughout the admissions process. And then for those students who are accepted, you will be bombarded with information, not only from the admissions office, from the school, from the athletics department, and everything once your student is accepted and is registered for classes in preparation for them coming to Salpointe next year as a freshman. The next question came in, and actually, Danny, this one's more for you. What does the schedule look like for freshman baseball?
It's a good question. The freshman baseball schedule is built kind of on the fly, if you will, because we don't know how many teams or how many schools in this town will have enough bodies to have a freshman team. So it's not a schedule that is set forth by the AIA, more so done within our office here by having communication with the local coaches and seeing if they're going to have those levels. Normally, we would play against Nogales, Buena, Catalina Foothills. Douglas generally has a freshman team. Ironwood Ridge and CDO. Those are kind of the regulars that have a freshman team every year.
And Danny brings up a good point, and let me kind of follow up with that, because in normal times, our schedules would be set. They get set in the springtime. We operate off of 2-year blocks with the AIA, but this year is completely different. We had an AIA or an AD meeting this morning talking about winter sports and, okay, who's going to have a team? Who's allowed to travel outside of the county? Who's allowed to go up to Phoenix and play? Those types of things. So in normal times, schedules are pretty solid, except for like freshman baseball that Danny mentioned. But in these times, we're going day to day and week to week.
All right. Thank you, Phil. The next question comes in, and this is going to be one of your favorite things to talk about, Phil. Club sports is huge. How does this work with high school sports, specifically soccer?
And that was the example that I'm going to use. The AIA has rules with club sports and with interscholastics. And once interscholastic sports season, and I use interscholastic, that means high school sports, that the student athlete can no longer play their club. I would say that most club coaches know that, but there are some club coaches that don't know that. So using soccer as an example, once the high school season starts, meaning that once they have their first game, a student athlete needs to choose whether they're going to play club or whether they're going to play interscholastic. They can't play 2 of them or both of them at the same time. And there's even a rule about church leagues. If you are an interscholastic student and you are playing soccer and your church puts together a league where they're going to play other churches on Sundays, that's against the AIA bylaws. So it has to be dedicated towards interscholastic sports. And this just isn't AIA. We have an organization that is above the AIA called the National Federation of State High School Sports. It's called the NFHS. And they pretty much dictate bylaws. They give suggestions to high schools at the state level, and then the state level is implemented at each school. So I know that club sports are big. I get it. But now we're going up to a different level of sport organization, going from youth sports to interscholastics. Hopefully that answered your question.
Thank you, Phil. I was hoping that you could talk a little bit about our athletic training program, John Valencia, and what we're doing to ensure student safety on and off the field.
We are very lucky here at Salpointe that we have two athletic trainers, a male and a female. John Valencia has been here for 20 years. Elise Abbott is a Salpointe alum. In fact, she was a student of mine back when I taught biology in the late 90s and early 2000s. She has incredible experience. She graduated from UNLV and then went to Texas and worked there for a couple of years. But most schools only have an athletic trainer that may be part-time, or some schools don't have an athletic trainer at all, whereas we have two. They are here for your student athletes. They are experts in athletic injuries. They have great connection with our community and the doctors within our community. Tucson Orthopedic, if you were to try to get on a phone to make an appointment with a Tucson orthopedic doctor, it may take you a little bit to do. But if your student comes in to see one of our trainers and they have diagnosed it that you need to see a doctor, they have a direct line right to their scheduler and they can get them in. We have a great training room that we put a lot of time and effort and money into it. And Elise is one of our teachers on campus, and then she becomes an athletic trainer after school, whereas John comes after school and he is here for the duration. So we're very privileged to have two athletic trainers here.
Thank you. Can you talk just briefly about some of the things that we will require as their students do come in to Salpointe as freshmen in terms of athletic physicals, the brain testing for concussions, etc.?
Danny, you want to take that?
Yes, sir. We require 3 different items for clearance to play sports on this campus. One is the AIA physical. You will get information about that starting probably in June to get that done. It needs to be dated after March 1 of the year that we are in, headed into that August school year. So you have the AIA physical document. That is the document that the doctor does the evaluation on and signs off that they are cleared to participate. The 2 other items that you have, one is required by the AIA. It is called a brain book course, if you will. And the kids need to get onto their laptops or computers and go through this exam, course, test, whatever you want to call it. And then they will get a certificate of completion at the end of that. And then the other one is a Salpointe requirement. It's called an impact baseline test. And this test is for our trainers to have a baseline for, God forbid, your child ever has to have a concussion, go through concussion protocol. We will have a baseline from where they started from and where they are currently post-concussion to try to get them back down to that baseline. The impact test is done in the freshman year and in the junior year. And then once those 3 items are completed, we're good to go, ready to participate in athletics. All of those documents are uploaded into an offsite website called registermyathlete.com. Everything, your profile is created in there. All those documents are housed there. And that's kind of our launching point for getting the season going for our coaches. That's the list that I give them of those that are completed and are ready to participate with tryouts or practice when that time comes.
All right. Great. Thank you very much. But I do want to thank Phil and for Danny for being here this afternoon, particularly during their lunch hour. It's always great to have members of the Salpointe community step up and communicate about all the different things that are happening on this campus. And if you do have any questions about the athletics program, about any of the sports, about our athletic trainers, the health and safety of our student athletes, anything like that, please feel free to reach out to Phil or Danny directly, or you can always email the admissions office and I'll get that information out to Phil and Danny so they can reply right back to you. We did have a question come in. Is there any way the incoming freshmen can be involved in the school right now? So I'm going to actually take that question. So right now for our current 8th grade students, We will be having our on-campus open house on November 22nd. We will be having a step-up day in December on December 4th. You sign up for both of those events online. And then as we go through the spring, we will be doing things with our incoming freshmen. We will have interview nights in January. We'll be doing registration in February. There will be a new student information night in March. We're going to have a welcome barbecue, hopefully on campus. If things start to loosen up a little bit in the spring, for our incoming freshmen in April and so forth. But in terms of on-campus activities with our athletics department and things, we do have to wait until they're graduated from 8th grade. So once they get accepted to Salpointe, they register for classes. And once they get into, once they graduate from 8th grade and officially become a student at Salpointe, then they'll actually be able to do on-campus activities with our athletics coaches. So here is a question for you, Phil. Will the cheer team be able to participate during the basketball season, or will this be determined once winter sports guidelines are set?
It's a good question. And, right now we believe so. We're going to have to limit the number of students or families that come into the gym, just like we have with volleyball. So right now with volleyball, we can only allow 2 parents or family members per participant into our gym based on how we've set it up, how we've created some modifications. If you've been into our gym before where we have all the bleachers out, we're not able to do that right now with volleyball and going into basketball. We're not able to pull out our west side bleachers because our players' benches can't be in one line of 15 chairs. They have to social distance. So what we've created is 3 rows of 5, and now we're not able to pull out those bleachers. So right now, to answer your question, we do allow our cheerleaders and our dancers to be at our football games. We're hoping that we will be able to do that with basketball as well. And as I said at the beginning of this, it's day to day, it's week to week, and we'll see as we start to get closer into December when we have our first basketball game to see where we're at and what our matrix look like.
All right, thank you, Phil. The next question that came in, and I'll take this one, is: Are there any athletic scholarships given? No, there are not. There are no athletic scholarships given. We do offer need-based financial aid, and then we also partner with a ton of scholarship tuition organizations. We highly encourage families to look into the tax credit program, ESA scholarships. There's many, many, many ways that families can help subsidize their Salpointe tuition through tax credits and our internal financial aid. For those of you who maybe did miss our financial aid presentation with Lunch with the Lancers last week, that is available on our website. Just go to our website, click on admissions and open house, and you'll see all of our Lunch with the Lancer presentations. Or you can contact me at admissions@salpointe.org, or contact Teresa Laring, our financial aid manager, and we can give you all the financial aid information you will possibly need. In addition to that, Teresa, myself, and other scholarship tuition organizations will be at our on-campus open house on November 22nd. You will have to RSVP for that event. And so come on down, take a tour of the school, meet us. We'll be able to answer your questions really quickly about financial aid, or get in touch with us directly, and we can have a little bit of a longer meeting about financial aid and all those tax credit opportunities. All righty, guys. Thank you, everybody, so much for coming to our Lunch with the Lancers. Again, if you do have any other questions, just get in contact with me directly at admissions@salpointe.org, and we'll see you all at open house on November 22nd. Thank you, everyone.